And on a day such as this, most of us can recall probably where we were and how we felt about so many Australians dying at the hands of evil Islamic extremists. We'd only just witnessed the shocking reality of 9/11, of course, live on television, and then this in Bali. And I remember being enraged that some sick group in Indonesia had targeted holidaying Australians in the main in Bali, and Bali of all places. And naturally, we were always going to lose more lives than any other nation. It was an Australian place to party and holiday. But two individuals stood out to me during that period in October 2002 and beyond. Firstly, a survivor by the name of Peter Hughes, whose injuries were so severe it seemed unlikely he'd live. And the other person was a burn surgeon who was faced with saving more victims than any other doctor. She had to treat 31 severely injured people in the Royal Perth Hospital. Her name was Fiona Wood. She'd go on and become Australian of the Year. Today, we're very fortunate to have Peter join us firstly live from Bali. Peter, thank you very much for your time. Bali today, how would you describe it? The feelings, the thoughts, the emotion there?
Oh, look, it's, I think, obviously 20 years is a bit of a milestone, and I look at Bali as if it's just generally a normal day. Obviously, the emotion was at the consulate this morning with a lot of people that were involved back 20 years ago, especially the loved ones that lost people that were there, and also a lot of people that were first responders that happened to be at the scene, and a lot of government people that were there at the time, the AFP and obviously the police. So that was a little bit somber, but generally Bali's just Bali. Bali just continues on as it is, and not much changes around here.
I cannot forget the interview, Peter, you gave from that hospital bed in Indonesia, and I want to play a quick snippet for our viewers.
People are hearing this story can't understand what happened. Can you give us any idea the scene of what it was like seconds after?
Devastation. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Undescribable, basically.
Although you were clearly alive there, were you convinced at that time you'd survive? You were burnt, your face was bloated, and often burn survivors pass away days later.
Oh, look, I had no idea of my condition, by the fact I was pretty much convinced that I wasn't going to make it. Obviously, because with treatment, I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen next. By the time I did that interview, that was just pure desperation to get a message to my son. And obviously my loved ones back here in Perth, back in Perth, and my condition wasn't good. A lot of people that were around me were looking at me very strangely and wondering on why I kept saying, no, I'm okay. I just didn't want people to touch me. I think I just wanted to try and stay awake as long as I could, even though I knew it was possibly the wrong thing to do. But if if I look back now, I probably should have had somebody just incubate me and put me to sleep.
I want to bring in Fiona Wood now, and we've described Fiona as a hero at that time. Fiona, thank you very much for coming onto the program. When you first heard what you'd been dealing with, or what was about to deal with, how many were on their way to Perth? Were you confident your hospital, you, your doctors, your team could cope with the extent of this emergency?
Yes. I think we were very fortunate that in the 1990s we had a connection with Woodside Petroleum and really looked at how we could respond. And from that work, we reached out across Australia and New Zealand, and we worked out how we could respond as a country. So we put the Burn plan to the Health Ministers Advisory Council in July of 2002. And so in October, we responded. So yes, I think we were well placed. It's like anything. If you trained and you've thought about it and you've planned it, then yes. Doesn't say that it wasn't overwhelming, difficult and tragic, but yes, we were able to respond.
What were the patients, those burns victims, the bombing victims, saying? The most frequent message they wanted to relay, what were they saying to you and your team at the time?
As they arrived, they were very, very happy to be relieved, I think, rather than happy to be back home, back in Australia. And I think that went for people across the whole country, that they felt they could relax, like Peter said. He just wanted to stay awake. But once they were on home soil, they could relax and get on with the business of getting better.
John Howard put it superbly today, Peter, about the fact that we are tough, but the fact that we are thoughtful towards our fellow Australians. But you in particular would know this more than most, that at the time, in the heat of this incredible emergency, so many strangers came in to help and kept helping, didn't they?
Oh, it was non-stop. We had people coming in to do anything. I can remember a couple, they only got married the day before, had their first night in Bali, and, the Bali bombs go off, and here they are next to my bed saying to the doctor next to me, "What can we do?" And he said, "Well, probably the only thing you can do at the moment is, can you clean toilets?" And I just thought to myself, I wouldn't be doing that. And that's what they did. And that's what extraordinary people did. And just so people can go to the toilet with a bit of dignity. So, people worked tirelessly, all the expats that came in to help. People had no medical experience, and they were dealing with just by putting ice on people's bodies, on the people that had passed away, and extraordinary. I just saw things that just blew me away.
Fiona, on a day like today, 20 years on, what's your overwhelming feeling? I guess some thought for those who actually didn't make it past surgery, there were only a small number, but they were lost, weren't they?
I think, yes, it's time to reflect on that loss. And really, I've always felt, whatever I feel personally, it's trivial compared to what's being felt by those around that individual, the people who love them, the people who care for them, the people who have no longer got the privilege of having the memories of the last 20 years. So certainly my heart goes out to them.
But you saved, I think it was 28 from 31 patients that came into the hospital. In terms of the extent of their injuries, that is an extraordinary piece of work.
It was 25 out of 28. But yes, it was, I feel very privileged and proud to be part of the team that was working together, and how we were able to expand and be supported by our community. So it's something I think we're all very proud of.
Peter Hughes, have you got anything at all to say to Fiona Wood while you're hooked up between Bali and Perth?
Oh, look, what can you say to somebody that's just incredible? It's really hard with Fiona because we're sort of mates, and in a way, and doctor-patient relationship should be a lot further apart. But I just know that Fiona and myself have a good connection, and what she did for me in terms of my recovery, and give me a good boot up the bum to get out of bed and to get moving and get out of here and stop being down on yourself. And just a true inspiration to her people, her staff, to anyone that wants to look up to somebody. Fiona's at the top without question.
Wow, a terribly difficult day, but thank you so much to both of you. Peter Hughes, Fiona Wood, well done on what you achieved then, but well done on what you've achieved since. It's been a long 20 years, but thank you very much for your work.
Thank you very much indeed. And thanks, Peter.
See you, Fiona.